From translation, TLB the Living Bible this 136th day of the year. Today we are reading passages 2 Chronicles 21-24, 2 Chronicles chapter 21, verses 1 to 20. Then Jehoshaphat died, and was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. His son Jehoram succeeded him as king. Jehoram's brothers were the sons of Jehoshaphat: Azariah, Jehiel, Zechariah, Azariahu, Michael, and Shephatiah. All of these were sons of Jehoshaphat king of Judah. Their father had given them many gifts of silver, gold, and valuable treasures, along with fortified cities in Judah, but he had made the kingdom over to Jehoram because he was his eldest son. So Jehoram established his position over his father's kingdom, and proceeded to kill all his brothers with the sword, and also some of the princes of Israel. Jehoram was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 8 years. He followed the evil ways of the kings of Israel, as the family of Ahab had done. He married the daughter of Ahab, and began to rule over Judah like they did. He sinned against the Lord, walking in the ways of Jeroboam son of Nebat and in the ways of the kings of Israel, and he led Judah astray. Nevertheless, the Lord was not willing to destroy the house of David, because of his covenant with David, and because he had promised to give him a lamp for his children always. During Jehoram's reign, Edom revolted against Judah and set up a king of their own. Then Jehoram went to Zair with all his chariots and rose up by night. He and his chariot commanders struck down the Edomites who had surrounded him, but the army of chariots fled. So Edom revolted from the rule of Judah to this day. At that time Libnah revolted too, because Jehoram had abandoned the Lord, the God of his ancestors. Moreover, he built high places in the cities of Judah, and made the people prostitute themselves as the kings of Israel had done. Jehoram received a letter from Elijah the prophet, which said, "This is what the Lord, the God of your ancestor David says, because you have not followed the ways of your father Jehoshaphat or of Asa king of Judah, but have walked in the ways of the kings of Israel, and have made Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem prostitute themselves, as the house of Ahab did, and also because you have killed your brothers of your father's house, who were better than yourself. Therefore the Lord will bring upon you a great plague, your children, your wives, and all your possessions. You yourself will suffer a severe illness of your bowels until your bowels come out because of the disease, day after day." The Lord stirred up the spirit of the Philistines and the Arabs, who were near the Cushites, against Jehoram. They attacked Judah and invaded it, and carried away all the possessions that were found in the king's house, along with his sons and his wives, so that no son was left to him except Jehoahaz, his youngest son. After all this, the Lord struck Jehoram with an incurable disease of the bowels. In the course of time, after 2 years, his bowels came out because of the disease, and he died in great agony. His people made no fire in his honor, like the fires made for his ancestors. Jehoram was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 8 years. He departed with no one's regret, and they buried him in the city of David, but not in the tombs of the kings. 2 Chronicles chapter 22, verses 1 to 12. The inhabitants of Jerusalem made Ahaziah, his youngest son, king in his place, for the band of men who had come with the Arabians to the camp had killed all the older sons. So Ahaziah the son of Jehoram king of Judah began to reign. Ahaziah was 42 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Athaliah, a granddaughter of Omri. He also walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother was his counselor in doing wickedly. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, as the house of Ahab had done. For after the death of his father they were his counselors, to his undoing. He followed their counsel, and went out with Jehoram son of Ahab king of Israel, to fight against Hazael king of Aram at Ramoth-Gilead, but the Arameans wounded Joram. Then Ahaziah son of Jehoram king of Judah went down to see Joram son of Ahab in Jezreel, because he was wounded. Ahaziah's journey to see Joram was the means by which God brought about his downfall, for when he arrived he went out with Jehoram against Jehu son of Nimshi, whom the Lord had anointed to destroy the house of Ahab. When Jehu was executing judgment on the house of Ahab, he found the officials of Judah and the sons of Ahaziah's relatives, who were serving Ahaziah, and he killed them. Then Jehu searched for Ahaziah, and they were captured while he was hiding in Samaria. They brought him to Jehu and killed him. They buried him, for they said, "He is the son of Jehoshaphat, who sought the Lord with all his heart." Now when Athaliah the mother of Ahaziah saw that her son was dead, she rose up and destroyed all the royal offspring of the house of Judah. But Jehoshabath, the daughter of the king, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the king's children who were being put to death. She hid him and his nurse in a bedroom, and so they hid him from Athaliah, and he was not killed. He remained with them 6 years, hidden in the house of God, while Athaliah reigned over the land. 2 Chronicles chapter 23, verses 1 to 21. In the 7th year Jehoiada strengthened himself, and made a covenant with the commanders of hundreds. Azariah son of Jeroham, Ishmael son of Jehohanan, Azariahu son of Obed, Marciah son of Adiah, and Elishaphat son of Zikri. They went throughout Judah, and gathered the Levites from all the towns of Judah, and the heads of families of Israel, and they came to Jerusalem. The whole assembly made a covenant with the king in the house of God. Jehoiada said to them, "The son of the one who was king over you shall reign, as the Lord has promised concerning the descendants of David. This is what you shall do. 1/3 of you that are priests and Levites who are going on duty on the Sabbath shall be gatekeepers. And 1/3 shall be at the king's palace, and 1/3 at the foundation gate. All the people shall be in the courts of the house of the Lord. No one shall enter the house of the Lord except the priests and those ministering from among the Levites. They may enter because they are holy, but all the people shall observe the Lord's instructions. The Levites shall surround the king, each with his weapons in his hand, and whoever else enters the house shall be put to death. Be with the king when he comes in and when he goes out." The Levites and all Judah did as Jehoiada the priest commanded. Each took his men, those who were to come on duty on the Sabbath, those who were to go off duty on the Sabbath, and those who were to come on duty for the Sabbath. Jehoiada the priest gave to the commanders of hundreds the spears, the large shields, and the bucklers that had been King David's, which were in the house of God. The priests stationed officers throughout the house of the Lord, to offer the regular burnt offerings and to offer the incense, and to be present and do the service in the courts of the house of the Lord. Then they brought out the king's son, put the crown on him, gave him the testimony, and made him king. Jehoiada and his sons anointed him, and they clapped their hands and said, "Long live the king." When Ahaziah heard the noise of the guards and the people, she went into the house of the Lord to the people. She looked, and there was the king standing by the pillar, as was the custom, with the captains and the trumpeters beside the king, and all the people of the land rejoicing and blowing trumpets. Ahaziah tore her clothes and cried, "Treason! Treason!" Then Jehoiada the priest brought out the captains of hundreds who were set over the army, and said to them, "Bring her out between the ranks. Put to death with the sword anyone who follows her." For the priest had said, "Let her not be killed in the house of the Lord." So they laid hands on her, and she went through the entrance of the horse gate to the king's palace, and there they killed her. Jehoiada then made a covenant between himself and all the people, and the king, that they should be the Lord's people. Then all the people went to the temple of Baal and tore it down. They broke in pieces its altars and its images, and they killed Mattan the priest of Baal before the altars. Jehoiada posted the guard over the house of the Lord, under the authority of the Levite priests whom David had organized to be in charge of the house of the Lord, to offer burnt offerings to the Lord, as prescribed in the law of Moses, with rejoicing and singing, as David had appointed. He set the gatekeepers at the gates of the house of the Lord, so that no one could enter who was not a priest or Levite, for they were to keep charge of the house of the Lord. Then he took the captains of hundreds, the nobles, the governors, and all the people of the land, and they brought the king down from the house of the Lord, marching through the upper gate to the king's house, and placed him on the royal throne. All the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet, for Ahaziah had been killed with the sword. 2 Chronicles chapter 24, verses 1 to 27. Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zibiah from Beersheba. Joash did what was right in the sight of the Lord all the days of the priest Jehoiada. Jehoiada took for him 2 wives, and he had sons and daughters. After some time, Joash decided to repair the house of the Lord. He gathered the priests and Levites and said to them, "Go out to the cities of Judah and collect money from all Israel to repair the house of your God yearly, and do it quickly." But the Levites did not act quickly. So the king summoned Jehoiada the chief priest and said to him, "Why haven't you required the Levites to bring in from Judah and Jerusalem the tax levied by Moses the servant of the Lord, and the assembly of Israel for the tent of the testimony?" Now the sons of that wicked woman Athaliah had broken into the house of God, and had used even the sacred things of the house of the Lord for the Baals. At the king's command they made a chest, and set it outside the gate of the house of the Lord. A proclamation was then issued in Judah and Jerusalem that the tax should be brought to the Lord by the order of Moses, the servant of God, and on behalf of Israel, and that it should be for the service of the tent of the testimony. And all the officials and all the people rejoiced, and brought their tax and dropped it into the chest until it was full. Whenever the Leviters brought the chest to the royal secretary and the officer of the chief priest, they would empty it out and take it back again. So they did day after day, and collected money in abundance. The king and Jehoiada gave it to the carpenters and the masons, and to the workers in iron and bronze to repair the house of the Lord. The workers in charge of the labor of the house of God repaired the house with the money that was brought in, and they paid it out to the carpenters and the masons. And they finished the work, for they made faithful repairs to the house of God, according to its design, and strengthened it. When they had finished, Jehoiada received the thanksgiving offerings, and with them he made a covenant between himself, the king, and the people, that they should be the Lord's people. Then Jehoiada placed the oversight of the house of the Lord in the hands of the Levitical priests, to whom David had made assignments in the house of the Lord, to offer burnt offerings to the Lord, as it is written in the law of Moses, with rejoicing and singing, as ordained by David. However, the high places were not taken away. The people continued to make sacrifices and burn incense on the high places. Jehoiada grew old and was full of days, and he died at the age of 130. He was buried with the kings in the city of David, because he had done good in Israel for God and his temple. But after Jehoiada's death, the officials of Judah came and made obeisance to the king, and the king listened to them. They abandoned the house of the Lord, the God of their ancestors, and served the Asherols and the idols. So wrath came upon Judah and Jerusalem because of their guilt. They sent messengers to bring back the apostate king, but when he arrived, they killed him with the sword in the house of the Lord. For Joash the king did not remember the kindness that Jehoiada, the father of Jehoiada, had shown him, but killed his son. And when he died he said, "The Lord look at it and avenge it." At the turn of the year, the army of Aram came up against Joash and invaded Judah and Jerusalem, and they killed all the officials of the people, and sent all their spoil to the king of Damascus. Although the army of Aram had come with only a few men, the Lord delivered into their hands a very great army, because Judah had abandoned the Lord, the God of their ancestors. When they had departed from him, leaving him severely wounded, his servants conspired against him because of the blood of the sons of Jehoiada the priest. They killed him on his bed, and he died. He was buried in the city of David, but not in the tombs of the kings. Those who conspired against him were Zabad son of Ammizabad, and Jehozabad son of Shimrith, the Moabite woman. About the matter of his sons, and the many oracles against him, and the rebuilding of the house of God, see the account of the book of the Kings. And his son Ahaziah succeeded him as king,